They say real power lies in what you don't say, what you keep tucked behind your teeth, what you carry in your chest like a secret, not a scar to be shown off for applause. Leonidas understood this. I chose to lead Indecepta, as if Leonidas himself passed me the torch. He wasn't just a king of Sparta, he was the embodiment of a mindset that modern men have all but forgotten. The Spartan mind didn't flinch, it didn't explain, it didn't beg to be understood. Because to a Spartan, pain was not a curse, it was a privilege, a brutal initiation into the elite circle of those who could still stand upright, while others bowed to weakness. Picture Thermopylae, 300 men, backs to the cliffs, facing tens of thousands of Persian invaders. Death certain, odds suicidal. But there Leonidas stood, calm and controlled, as if staring into the jaws of death was no different than another day in the Argoge, the brutal training school that turned Spartan boys into silent killers. He didn't waver. He didn't give a speech about his childhood wounds or the burdens of leadership. He didn't whimper to the gods for more time. He simply stood, spear in hand, shoulders squared, gaze locked, because the moment you show pain, you hand the enemy the blueprint to break you. This wasn't bravado, it was programming. From age 7, Spartan boys were ripped from their homes and dropped into a world of discipline, deprivation, and combat. They were trained to steal food and not get caught, and if they were caught, not to complain about hunger, but to accept the punishment, not because pain didn't exist, but because acknowledging it would mean it owned you. That was the point. The body was conditioned, but the real battlefield was the mind. You had to master the space between stimulus and response, crying, complaining, emotional outbursts. All of that was weakness. All of that was indulgence. The Spartan boy who whimpered was shamed. The one who endured silently was praised. It wasn't cruelty, it was refinement. Because in war, and life is war, the one who keeps their pain hidden is the one who remains dangerous. Emotional exposure is a liability. Once someone knows what cuts you, they will twist it every time. Leonidas knew that the power of a leader wasn't just in his strength, but in his composure. His men didn't look to him for comfort, they looked to him for certainty. They needed to believe their king was unbreakable, even as the arrows blotted out the sun. And that belief came not from what he said, but from what he didn't. He didn't share his fears, he didn't announce his suffering. He didn't crack under pressure so others could cry with him. He stayed solid, because if the king collapses, the kingdom follows. This is what most modern men have forgotten. We've been told that expression is strength, that openness is courage, that tears are noble, maybe in a therapist's office, but not in the battlefield of business, relationships, or survival. The world is not gentle. It's filled with competitors, opportunists, and wolves. You reveal your wounds, and you invite them to be reopened. You show pain, and they will press on it. The Spartan mind teaches that pain must be eaten, digested, and turned into fuel, not paraded, not posted, not preached about. To suffer is inevitable, but to remain silent while suffering, that is sacred. Leonidas didn't become immortal in history because he survived. He became immortal because he embraced death without a whimper. He gave no speech about unfair odds. He didn't romanticize martyrdom. He fought until the last breath, knowing the legend would outlive the body. That's the game. That's the code. And if you want to rise above mediocrity, above the emotional chaos that dominates weak men, you must become fluent in silence. Let the pain come. Let it burn. Let it break every comfort you thought you needed. But never under any circumstance, let it show on your face. Not in front of enemies, not in front of peers, not even in the mirror. Because pain, when hidden, becomes power. When revealed, it becomes ammunition. The choice is yours. Carry your pain like a warrior, or cry it out like a casualty. Only one. becomes legend? What if everything you chase is what's weakening you? What if pleasure isn't reward, but a trap? And what if desire itself was the enemy all along? Death of desire, the Stoics' path to cold clarity. This is not a guide. This is not self-help. This is war. Kill the need, master the mind. We've entered an era where silence is seen as a flaw and oversharing is praised as virtue, where men are told to open up and be vulnerable, not because it strengthens them, but because it makes them easier to control. Make no mistake, the modern world is not compassionate. It is cunning. Behind the curtain of safe spaces and mental health awareness is a society that weaponizes weakness. It tells men to cry in public, spill their trauma online, and call it healing. But what it's really doing is stripping them of their power. A man who reveals his pain becomes predictable. And a predictable man can be manipulated, discarded, or replaced. What once was sacred, emotional control, restraint, self-possession, is now shamed as toxic. But Leonidas would not survive in this world. Not because he was too brutal, but because he was too disciplined to be tamed. Social media has turned confession into content. Every pain is a post. Every setback is a sob story. Men bleed on the timeline and call it bravery. But what they don't see is that every time they broadcast their inner wounds, they are being studied, watched, calculated. The job they wanted, denied, because the hiring manager found their meltdown thread from 2 years ago. The woman they admired, turned off because strength is her true security and weakness repels her on a primal level. The competitor who sees their soft underbelly, he doesn't sympathize, he strategizes. The idea that you can gain power by being emotionally naked is a lie sold to you by people who benefit from you being disarmed. This is not about denying pain exists. It's about understanding that announcing it to the world invites more destruction than healing. A Spartan boy who cried in public was shamed, not because his pain was invalid, but because his timing was. The battlefield is not the place for breakdowns, and in the modern world, every room is a battlefield. The boardroom, the bedroom, the courtroom, the comment section. Every interaction is a test. Every exchange is a poker game. And in poker, you don't show your hand unless you want to lose. That's what emotional control is. Poker face power. You feel the heat, but you don't sweat. You feel the pain, but you don't flinch. Because your enemy is watching. And today, your enemy is often smiling, pretending to be your friend. They want access to your insecurities so they can comfort you, then control you. They want you to depend on their approval, their advice, their validation. That is how empires fall. One exposed man at a time. Look around. The strongest men you know, those who truly hold power, don't rant on social media. They don't make public declarations of grief or personal failure. They move in silence. They process in private. They turn their setbacks into strategy, not spectacle. There's a reason you never saw Marcus Aurelius post scrolls about his bad days. There's a reason Leonidas didn't call for a group therapy session before facing the Persians. Because true strength is internal, it's solitary, it doesn't beg to be seen. The moment you start needing others to validate your pain, you lose ownership of it. It no longer shapes you, it cages you. And what's worse, it trains others to see you through the lens of that weakness. Your name becomes synonymous with your story. Your legacy gets diluted in emotional noise. You must understand, the world respects stoics, not sobbers. You think vulnerability earns love. Maybe from your mother. But the world is not your mother. The world is a battlefield where the strong feed and the weak are forgotten. If you must express pain, express it in private, in your journal, in your gym, in your prayers. But do not hand it to the world on a platter. That's not bravery. That's self-sabotage. The man who can endure without announcement, who can rebuild in silence, who can hold the line while his world shakes, that man commands respect, whether they say it or not. Leonidas didn't beg to be understood. He didn't scream about injustice. He looked death in the face and didn't blink. And for that, he became myth. Today, you are being conditioned to do the opposite, to reveal, confess, emote. They call it progress, but it's regression. It's domestication. They're not raising warriors. They're raising pets. If you want to reclaim your edge, your masculine edge, you must unplug from this culture of oversharing. You must remember that your pain is sacred. Your suffering is your own. It's not for likes, it's for legacy. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Let them think you're fine. Let them think you're unbothered. That's the power. That's the deception. Because the minute they see you cry, they know where to strike next. And if you still think that's too harsh, too cold, too callous, then you're not ready for war. You're not ready for life. Because life doesn't reward the emotionally transparent. It rewards the composed, the quiet, the concealed, the Spartan. Pain isn't your enemy. It's your trainer. The discomfort you feel, the betrayal, the isolation, the financial pressure, the quiet nights where no one checks on you, is the fire that forges iron. But only if you embrace it. Only if you stop trying to escape it or narrate it to people who can't carry it. Pain is not something to be medicated away or posted for sympathy. It's a rite of passage. A man who hasn't suffered in silence has no depth, no edge, no gravity. The Spartan knew that. Leonidas knew that. The fire you carry in your chest must be walked through alone. That's where the transformation happens. That's where your emotions die and your mission is born. We've got too many men trying to negotiate with pain instead of conquering it. They want comfort and clarity before they move. They want closure before they fight. But that's not how warriors are made. You have to fight while bleeding, build while broken, show up even when your heart's ripped open. You have to keep walking with a sword in one hand and your doubts in the other, and still not flinch. Because the enemy doesn't care how you feel. The economy doesn't care. Your competition doesn't care. Your legacy, that's built on what you do despite the pain, not what you post about the pain. The modern man thinks self-control is outdated. He's wrong. Self-control is the only thing separating you from collapse. Men are destroying their lives over outbursts, flipping out on women, crashing emotionally at work, reacting instead of calculating. Emotional intelligence isn't just about knowing how you feel, it's about knowing when to shut it down. You must train yourself to feel everything and show nothing. Your rage, channel it. Your sadness, use it. Your loneliness, wear it like armor. The warrior doesn't deny the emotion. He disciplines it, and that discipline becomes the core of his power. That's what the Spartan mindset offers. It's not just about physical toughness, it's psychological warfare against the world and yourself. It's about staying silent when the pain screams, smiling when the fear whispers, showing up when every muscle says to quit. You take that pain and you turn it into progress. You use it to level up in silence when no one sees. Because you're not doing this for applause. You're doing it to become the kind of man who doesn't need it. Pain is not your downfall, it's your divine test. And if you pass it in silence, you come out not just stronger, but untouchable. Now hear me, Crusaders. You are not alone in this fight. I know what it feels like to carry weight with no one to help. I know what it's like to feel forgotten, overlooked, underestimated. But I haven't forgotten you. I see you. I bleed with you. And like Leonidas stood firm at the hot gates with 300 warriors ready to die for something greater than themselves, I stand with you now, not to coddle you, not to comfort you, but to fortify you. I may have been demonetized, but I have not been silenced. Your support is much appreciated. Every sale from my audiobooks goes right back into Indeceptions, so I can continue on. This path we walk isn't for the weak-hearted. It's for those who dare to conquer themselves before they conquer anything else. I will not let you fold. I will not let you die a silent death in the algorithm of mediocrity. You are being called higher. You will endure in silence. You will lead with discipline. You will rise like the Spartans did, calm, composed, and fearless. And I'll be right here, on the front lines, with you. Never reveal your pain. Become it. Transcend it. And let your silence echo through history. Thus remember, we are Indecepta. Becoming Indecepta is the code they never wanted you to learn. A psychological war map for men, forbidden teachings fused with modern strategy for influence, dominance, and self-mastery. If you want peace, prepare for war. Welcome to the Indecepta archive, where the undeceived rise. No ads, no distractions, just pure, uninterrupted power. As a crusader of the archive, you gain infinite access to every video, every truth, every strategy, without censorship, delay, or interruption. New drops daily, delivered to you before the world sees them. Raw, unfiltered, elite. Indeceptions.com